Hi Founder fans, Jason here. Welcome to Founder of the Day, and we are going to be talking about today's founder, Nathaniel Woodhull. But first, real quick, we're back. I took a week off and I apologize for being distant. It also took me a lot longer to get home than I thought, which is why I'm a little down dressed today, but I'll have a collar on for you tomorrow. Don't worry. Lots of fun, exciting things coming up. We're going to talk about Nathaniel Woodhull, who was the brother-in-law of the person I wrote an article about today, William Floyd, which, by the way, today I just published my 1,000th article, which is quite a milestone. Now, we are going to talk about William Floyd more on Thursday when we do this week's weekly wrap-up of the articles I wrote, but I wanted to bring that up because he was brother-in-law with Nathaniel Woodhull. Now, Nathaniel Woodhull's story is extraordinary, and I want to get into it now. I did a lot of research this week while I was on Long Island about Long Island, and since I got home, took me a lot longer to get home than I thought today. I realized, hey, I might as well talk about someone I know really well. Who is Nathaniel Woodhull? If the name Woodhull rings a bell, then you probably are familiar with the Culper Spy Ring, headed up by Abraham Woodhull in Setauket on Long Island. And Nathaniel Woodhull was one of Abraham's wealthier, more important cousins. Granted, Abraham became pretty important in the spy ring, but Nathaniel was publicly important, a little bit older, and a major landholder in Suffolk County. So, as the Revolutionary War starts to come to fruition, New York State creates the New York Provincial Congress. After having several committees, they form the Provincial Congress, which is essentially a shadow government. And Nathaniel Woodhull is for a time elected as president of this body and essentially is de facto governor of early revolutionary New York. Now, again, he's really just chairman of this revolutionary body, but, basically governor. Either way, he also had experience in the French and Indian War and had retired as a soldier, more or less, before the American Revolution broke out. But when that happens, because Woodhull had such experience as a soldier and an officer of the war, well, he is appointed as a brigadier general in the New York State militia. Because of his position as a brigadier general, combined with his position as president of the Provincial Congress, he corresponds frequently with General George Washington. And George Washington gives him a fascinating task. You see, the British were coming. At this point, in the summer of 1776, the British had already evacuated Boston and were sitting outside Manhattan on ships. They were obviously going to invade, and so Woodhull was sent by Washington to make sure the British didn't get any cattle to feed their troops, because there were a lot of cattle on Long Island, as there were all over the place. And Nathaniel Woodhull takes on what I can only believe is one of the earliest American cattle drives. He goes north and south, and most of Long Island is about 30 miles north to south, and he goes up and down, getting all the cattle from all the farms he can and sending them eastward to try and get them as far away from the British as they can. Now, unfortunately, a storm rolls in, and they have to take shelter in a church. During this time, many of Woodhull's men start to think, hey, this is a pointless task. They're eventually it's an island. How far can we bring these cattle? And so they're pushing them away, but they don't get far enough away because, like I said, the storm rolls in and they hunker down, and then the British show up while the storm's going on and capture Woodhull. So when Woodhull is captured, this is where things get a little bit murky, because for somehow Woodhull is attacked with a sword. He is struck in the head and stabbed through the arm. Now, there are many conflicting stories as to why this took place. The fun story that was often told is, well, Woodhull said, one of the British officers said, hey, say God save the king, and Woodhull said, no, God save us all. That's a great story, but probably not what happened, although historically that is the story that's been told. We have one Connecticut newspaper that says Woodhull refused to remove his sword and present it to the other officer who captured him, so he was struck and stabbed. Another story, one of his friends wrote back to the New York Provincial Congress announcing his death, which we'll get to, that he stayed silent during questioning. Instead of saying, God save us all, Woodhull apparently just stayed silent during his questioning when he was captured during this cattle drive on Long Island. Either way, he was struck in the head and then stabbed through the arm and put on a prison ship in poor conditions. But they realized very quickly that this was an extremely important person who could be used to be exchanged for another British officer. So they didn't want him to die because the wound in his arm quickly became gangrenous. So they actually attempted to save his life by removing the limb. Unfortunately, this didn't work out. He does pass away on April 20th, 1776, just a week before the British invade Long Island and thereafter New York City. Now, Woodhull, Nathaniel Woodhull, as one of the most important leading members of Long Island's community, especially the Patriot community, his death makes him a martyr to the cause so early in the war, which rallies people not just on Long Island to support the revolution, but across the colonies to support the revolution with these wretched British who are doing such horrible atrocities to the Americans, as the Americans often claimed, and often rightfully so. So that's a brief overview of the life of Nathaniel Woodhull. People coming in, Misfit, thank you for welcoming me back. Low Rage Overland, top of the evening from New York. As I said, I'm a little underdressed today because I just got back from my trip. Took a little bit longer than I anticipated, but Nathaniel Woodhull, one of Long Island's most important founders. If you came in a little late, a cousin of Abraham Woodhull, is famous from the Culper Spy Ring, was sent by Washington to take this cool cattle ride and drive all the cattle east on Long Island away from the British. Didn't work out. He gets stabbed, ends up dying. So real sad for him. Very interesting story. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you guys are already hitting like, so make sure you hit like while you watch it. Subscribe. Over the next 2 weeks, we have a bunch of fun guests coming up. I've gotten a whole lot of fun people agreed to come on the channel and talk to you guys about the American Revolution. I'm extraordinarily excited for it. Also, Thursday, we're starting our weekly wrap-up. Friday, we do trivia. You guys are amazing. Any questions or comments, leave in the comment box below. Email me. Write it in the social medias. Everything's linked down below, including an article I wrote about Nathaniel Woodhull. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with another founder for you tomorrow.